Anti-Afro Svengali. I wanted to talk about an issue that I touched upon in my last video. The last video was entitled Moderator because there was a situation that came up that actually revisited something that I had made clear before. I had stated, and I made it very clear, without question, that if and when certain lines were crossed, it called for me to take certain action. Now, let's be clear. We have people always trying to find some way to get people riled up and jumping up and down and screaming and reacting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when there's a very serious violation of what I make very clear I won't accept. I am going to take decisive action. And that is something that went down in Photon's live stream. Yes, Photon was the person I was talking about in the last video. And I understand Photon was bent out of shape, although I didn't even mention his name. What reason would there be that Photon would get an exception or a pass? I realize that he expects that because he's so used to people saying, oh, he's just trolling. Oh, he's just kidding. Oh, he's just on one. Oh, it's just Photon. I don't care about any of that. That is them and this is me. There are certain things I absolutely will never, ever tolerate. I don't give a damn who you are. It makes no difference. You cross that line with me, you are going to incur consequences. I have recourse at my disposal. I'm going to use that recourse. So the first approach, I want none of my content associated with Photon's platform. This includes any content that he has put on private. I've already found 2 live streams on private, and I've already submitted complaints to YouTube. I haven't heard back from YouTube, so that's the first approach. And I have other strategies I'm going to be using. I'm not going to get into that. In the event Photon wants to display to the world how he's even more of a fool and wants to take more of a risk that he's going to fail at, he can do that. And my consequences are going to be progressively more severe. We'll see where that leads. This is not a beef. This is not a fight. This is not any of that. This is a response simply to completely and totally unacceptable conduct where Photon crossed the line. That's just what it is. Let me be clear about something, because this has to be really just wiped off the table. This is not about money. And when I say this is not about money, this is not driving Photon's abuse, his abusive behavior. Specific to this situation, I'm making that clear. This is not about money. Now, when I had tuned in a couple days ago and Photon was just going off the rails, I only listened for like not even a minute and he was all over the place. Okay, I can go all over the place. And I'm going to go all over the place with respect to this money thing to prove a point, but I'm not going to do that right now. I just wanted to tell you it is not about money. I will say this. He's freaking out over a nominal, small channel donation that I gave him of $100. $100? That's some big deal? $100? It's not a big deal. If somebody gave him more money than that, it's still not about money. And I'm going to come back to this point, so just hold on. What I'm here to tell you, what drives Photon's abusive behavior, what drives Photon to be disrespectful, What drove Photon to cross that line with me? He's a coward. What is the main element that comprises a coward? Fear. This is all fear-based behavior. Let's go back quickly to when Dum-C D. Durrell described the situation with the blackout meetings. There were other people that were excluded from the blackout meetings. I don't even remember their names. But who had the reaction? Who was crying like a baby? Who was saying, well, what about me? Well, how come they, what did I do? A bunch of losers excluded him from the blackout meeting, and he's up there whining and crying. And then he retaliated by giving me a wrench. I never asked for it. I never came up on a panel or typed a message saying, can I have a wrench? I want a wrench. How can I don't have a wrench? He gave the wrench in retaliation. Remember I said that at the last video. So if somebody decides to give me a wrench, I'm going to use it responsibly. You're going to use a wrench to protect the channel. But this is something he doesn't even have an appreciation for because his motives were nefarious, like I said in the last video. I'm not going to rehash everything in the last video. So when Photon gave me that wrench, and don't worry, I'm going to expand further on this definition of a coward. I'm not going to just brush by that. So when he gave me this wrench, he really thought that this is something that I was going to do any and everything for. No, I set boundaries with Photon. I made it very clear with Photon. Obviously, it's your channel, Photon. You can say whatever you want on your channel. But he really thought that he would be able to pull up these freaks. And you know what I mean by freaks. Those I don't have any communication with. I will not speak to them. I have my reasons for that. So he feels he should be able to bring whoever he wants on his channel, which he can. But just because they're on his channel and they're mentioning my name, that he should be able to field questions to me and I answer them. No, I'm not doing that. I am not going to respond to questions from abusers just because they're on your channel and they're on your panel and they're talking about me. I don't have to say anything. So I know he thought he had power over me because these abusers are on his panel and they're talking about me. So forget for a second, folks, his sometimes, oh, don't talk about her. That's my moderator. Oh, don't call her that name. That's my moderator. Don't pay attention to that. That's bullshit. That was just said to try and placate me, to keep me there because he wanted to draw me in for the kill. This is what he thought he was going to be able to do. He was becoming increasingly irritated and impatient because I wouldn't obey him. He was trying a lot of things. I'm just sitting there seeing how far you were going to go, Photon. He was pissed because he had this panel, these abusers verbally and sexually harassed three guests, the Stargate, the Smoke, and the Owl Show. You had two other freaks up there. And I understand the reasons why Stargate, the Smoke, and the Owl Show stayed on the panel. They were trying so hard. When I say they, Photon and the other abusers, to break them, to try and see if they can get. First, they're trying to get to Stargate. She just wouldn't budge. They wanted a reaction out of her. They wanted the show out of her. They wanted to bend and get her to get hysterical and just shock her. And they tried it with the Owl Show. They tried it with Smoke. I mean, it was pretty disgusting. This is a type of live stream that Photon was willing to run, and you couldn't break any of the three. Stargate, the Smoke, and the Owl Show. They weren't your flunkies. They weren't going to metamorphosize for you. You had your three or your other two clowns up there whose character, I mean, the three of you, you're just like each other. but you weren't able to convert Stargate. You weren't able to get the smoke to go along with you. You weren't able to get a rise out of the Al show. You're a pathetic clown. You wanted to get a rise out of them and it didn't work. Thank God I fell asleep. But check this out, folks. I'm not done. I don't know if it was the next day or because he ran, I think he had a couple live streams in a day. No, it wasn't the next day. I think he had 2 live streams the next day. I think it was the following day because they were trying to spring something on Stargate. It didn't work. So Stargate had gone on another panel. And then the next day, Photon wanted to have like an ambulance crashing scene on his platform, but he needed help to get Stargate over there. I wasn't helping out with that. Stargate want to go and catch the link. Stargate's going to catch the link. Now, we know people, and we might help out with getting people to channels and links. I wasn't helping out with that. I know he was pissed. He kept asking for Stargate. I was in contact with Stargate that night. We were talking to each other while that live stream was on. I was not going to encourage Stargate to catch no link. If Stargate wants to catch a link, Stargate is a grown-ass woman. She would have caught your damn link. What do you think about that? I wasn't going to say anything to her about catching no link so they can get her up there and what? Try to abuse her again? He was pissed. And then he starts mentioning other people's names. That means you don't feel that your live stream is satisfactory enough. See, again, he's an ambulance crasher live stream host, not ambulance chasing. I modified that. Ambulance crashing. After you had the guest on the show who showed you they're not going to change their character or you're not going to force them to go along with your bullshit, they sat there for that time and made a fool out of you. He wants people coming onto his panel so they can be subjected to ambulance crashing. I wasn't going to deal with any of that. And he was getting more and more pissed off. I'm going to have to take her ranch. I'm going to have to take her ranch. Take it. I don't give a shit. I'm really going to go around and beg people and plead with people. Please let Photon abuse you so I can keep a ranch. Comply with him. Get on your knees and beg. Bend at his every whim. Oh, that's just Photon. Oh, he's just trolling. Oh, it's just jokes. Oh, it's just YouTube. Bullshit. Photon's wrenches are the most undesirable, least sought after. Hell, Verla didn't even show up for the job. They're the most frequently abandoned wrenches. I left. You didn't pull shit. I got the hell up out of there. And how many other people, as of late, abandon your wrenches? They're not worth anything because Photon doesn't have respect for his own platform. Poor, shitty customer service. Oh, he'll try to act like he gives a damn, just like Ted Bundy did, in order to get his victims. Then he comes in for the kill. But you got to make the kill, Photon. You came nowhere near making the kill. You failed. You failed miserably. You can't keep moderators. Look around. Look at any channel in and around the Umar Johnson sector. Even go to those other sectors. I haven't looked at it, but I can guarantee you, based on what you hear when people come to the other spaces, they don't have any problems keeping moderators. He cannot keep moderators because he's abusive. The moderator stick is not worth anything because the channel isn't worth anything. Goes hand in hand. You can't keep moderators because you don't have any customer service because you're abusive. And this goes back to being a coward. This is the kind of crap that he expected me to do with the wrench. He expected me to be a flunky with the wrench, and it wasn't going to happen. I'm the same person that I have always been. I will never change because a photon wrench. What value does photon's wrench have? He wants you to be subjected to his abuse, and I wouldn't budge. Let me tell you one of the most insulting things oh my goodness. He expected me to catch his no, the StreamYard link. You know, I have spoken on panels before, but I've always called in by phone. I've never caught a StreamYard link, but he thinks he's going to be the first person whose StreamYard link I'm going to catch. And this is how it would go. I'm going to catch Photon's StreamYard link, and he's going to bring up an abuser and try to get me to talk to an abuser. No way in hell I would ever catch your StreamYard link. Are you out of your cotton picking mind? And he was pissed about that. He wasn't getting anywhere. He realized I wasn't going to budge. I will never budge for an abuser. I stood my ground and he couldn't deal with it. So let's go back to the definition of a coward. A coward engages in fear-based bullying. They explode. They lose control. They start to holler. They start to scream. They don't know what else to do because they feel the world is looking at them and they're criticizing them because they can't get what they want to show the world. I've got control over AAS. Now they're looking at me like she's controlling me. I've got to do something. So he comes out with this verbal abuse. I wasn't even speaking to him when he did it. He was talking about, whatever he was talking about. He was on a rant. He felt he was being made a fool of, and he was scared. He was afraid of looking like a fool in front of the losers who were criticizing him and excluded him from what? The blackout meetings. So he starts to go on the attack. You are a coward. You are a lowlife of the worst kind. I'm not mincing any words. I consider anybody who just starts attacking another person with no provocation a lowlife. Now, I'm speaking in this video about Photon, but it applies to anybody that does anything like this. You can take that wrench and you know what you can do with it, right? I got a lot of ideas that you can do with that wrench. And he wanted me to bring other people over to his page. He starts ragging on the people who left his page. No wonder they left. Let me come back to what I stated earlier about I was going to go all over the place when it came to the money issue. Do you all remember? Was it last year or maybe a little bit longer when FUB went and found Photon's mugshot, and Photon claimed it was identity theft, that a roommate had stolen his identity and committed some crimes. And I had been thinking about that as Photon started just railing on about that channel he built, that doorbell mania, someone else's idea, of course, how much money he's making, and his frankly bizarre reaction to channel support. I have never seen anything like that. I've seen just standard channel support, $100 channel support. What is the big deal? I didn't give it any other thought. He's completely just torn all asunder about channel support. Didn't ask for anything, didn't expect anything, never do, don't think about it again when I give it. No one can ever say I mention anything or expect anything. Never can say anything like that. But you have so many other situations where these people give supposedly no strings attached support, and they're throwing it up in people's faces all the time and complaining and whining. It's just not my gig, thankfully. But he's just all tattered, torn up. It's very bizarre. Which got me thinking, in addition to other things that he has said. As he continues to just rant about money, I was thinking, I could see somebody taking the rap for a relative, father, brother, sister, your own kid, even a fellow gang member, fellow mobster, even a homie you grew up with. But I can't see somebody taking a rap for a roommate. For those of you who don't know, Photon claims that he got arrested based on the fact that a roommate stole his identity and did something. Because obviously, if you steal somebody's identity, isn't it basically connected to theft? Doing something involving financial crimes, malfeasance, stealing something, using something to acquire goods or services. I mean, even if it's to buy a Christmas tree or go to Chuck E. Cheese, you're still stealing. So using somebody's ID, it's for something to obtain a good or a service. I don't know the details of the case, but it was criminal. And he was arrested, and he says it was based on the fact that a roommate stole his identification. That's what Photon said. And this is after FUB went and looked up his criminal record, which is a matter of public record. And then he says when they figured out it wasn't him, he was let out of there within an hour. And then he says he did not pursue any charges against the roommate. He let the charges just stay on his record. That's what Photon said. He just let it stay. He took the hit for a roommate. I guess there would be circumstances where that wouldn't matter, such as you're not going to ever be needing to look for a job. It wouldn't matter. You have some income from another source. That could mean anything. But if you have income from another source, you don't have to worry about money and it's unlimited. You wouldn't be freaking out over money like this. If it's a fixed income that it's limited from the government, then I can see. He didn't even do anything about it, like get an attorney. You're in New York. You can't go to legal aid for a referral and get somebody to help you clear your name. You're going to suffer a criminal conviction for a crime of moral turpitude based on a roommate who stole your identity. You know what? I don't buy that shit. I think you did it. Your rabid obsession with money leads me to believe you committed that crime, Photon. Now, how's that for going all over the place? I can go so many other places based on the shit that's come out of your mouth. So you think about that the next time. I can even talk about how you brought your poor children to an adult space and bashed your own children to adults because you were so pissed they didn't want to spend any time with you. He treated his own kids like they were an enemy in the Umar Johnson sector. We're bringing these babies to a live stream space. He posted their pictures on the screen and was ragging on them. He was so mad at them and their mother. He was criticizing. It was horrible. And how much you want to bet he took that live stream back to those kids and made them watch it? I wouldn't be surprised. That's the speed of this dude. I told somebody about this and they didn't even believe me. I said, I'm not home right now. The person couldn't tune in because they were at a meeting. And I said, when I get home, after I'm doing what I'm doing, I'll see if it's still up. At that time, he was keeping up his live streams a little bit longer. And it just so happens when I got home, it was still up. I have a copy of that. He posted their pictures. And the daughter was so angry. You could tell by her face. And parent is going to take that photo and post it, and it was just horrible. Saying horrible things about the mother, just just talking all kinds of garbage. Now we know parents are online saying, guess what, my kid's grounded this weekend, they ain't going nowhere. How many parents say that in these YouTube streets? No big deal. But he was going into all these details. It was horrific. I turned it off. I'm going, what the hell? Like they were a member of the Umar Johnson sector that he was beefing with. Two little kids, his kids. Up here thinking you can talk shit about any and everybody. Yes, this is a free country. Absolutely. People are free to say what they want. Harassment is not covered by free speech, which means you are attacking people who are not even mentioning your name, unprovoked. And the language you are using is harassment. Quit harassing me. Quit harassing my friends. You don't get a pass. We don't consider it trolling. We don't consider it funny. It isn't a joke. Like I stated before, I'll find agencies to file complaints. And I'm starting with YouTube. You don't get passes, Photon. You are here to appease the losers who can't stand you. You want to appease. You want to please. You're worried about what they think. Go ahead and cater to them. I don't give a damn. And here's the other thing. I am not like these other females. These females in that Umar Johnson sector, the overwhelming majority, there are exceptions, so I'm not going to broad brush all of them. Most of them get all upset and want to be in spaces that are abusive and don't treat them well. I don't have that issue. I'm gone. I'm glad I'm gone. I don't yearn. I don't have urges. I don't have withdrawal symptoms. I don't lay awake at night kicking and screaming. Oh, I want to go back. Hell no. I'm glad I'm gone when shit like this happens. And I don't try to go back. When that line is crossed, I'm out. And I'm glad I'm out. Listen, folks, I got a lot more coming your way. I'll keep you updated on the copyright strikes. I want to reiterate again, this is not a back and forth. This is not a beef. This is me responding to disrespect and crossing lines. There are consequences. There are repercussions, and I'm pursuing it to that end. When that is addressed, when there's an outcome, I'm reporting it. This is not a beef and a back and forth with Photon. In the meantime, folks, you know the drill. Buyer beware.